follow-up on the injury front from yesterday. Greedy is day-to-day with that groin injury. Montrell Meander will need surgery with an Achilles injury. And then Cody Parkey will go to IR with his quad injury. Following up on the game, like we talked about, I thought there was a ton of teachable moments that we're going to look at the tape tomorrow with the players. Some really, really good situational football. So got some work to do, and this is another big week of that work. And with that, I'll answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you, Coach. The first one will be from Tom Withers.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Coach. When did Cody get hurt yesterday?
I think it was during, I want to say it was during pregame, but I'm not entirely positive about that.
Okay. Are you comfortable then with the kicking situation going forward? Does this mean he's won the job, and then, or will you bring somebody else in?
Yeah, I think, Andrew and his staff will discuss those type of things, but, we're all still battling for jobs on this 53. It's still a great competition at all these positions.
Thanks, Tom. Next is Nate Ulrich.
Hey, Kevin. So to clarify, Cody is done for the season when you put him on the IR right now, correct?
Yeah, Nate, I wouldn't get that specific into it. I'm sure we'll put out a release on those type of things.
Okay. And with Greedy, is that something where you think he'll be able to get back in practice and, compete with Greg Newsome, or is this something that, day to day means that he's going to, kind of fall behind a little bit in that competition?
No, I think day to day means he's got to rehab and see how he does tomorrow and see how the injury responds to treatment, that type of thing. But, like I mentioned before, we got some time before you have to set the depth chart, before you have to set the 53, all those type of things. So plenty of work to do for the guys this week in practice, and then with this game coming up.
So if, let's just say it is, whatever happens with Greedy, there are different, I guess not all day-to-days are created equal. Ask you.
Put on a t-shirt, Nate.
But how comfortable are you with Greg Newsome if you guys need to roll with Greg Newsome in, a starting role here as you get ready for the season and go into week 1?
Yeah, Nate, I think all these guys are competing for jobs, and Greg is doing a nice job competing on the practice field in these games. Understand that he's a rookie, but he's a kid that, like I mentioned the other day, he's not making the same mistake twice. He's very diligent about his work, and then ultimately, if he is that guy, he's somebody that we're going to count on, and all those guys, when these games start rolling around, you're counting on them. So that's nothing new, and that's nothing that these guys aren't used to, especially playing the cornerback position.
Thanks, Nate. Matt Fontana, you're up.
Yeah, Kevin, I noticed yesterday that both you and the Giants had your starters warm up in full pads and then also just, be out there in pads. Was that decision made during the week, or did you kind of lay a plan out before preseason even started on how you wanted to approach each week?
Yeah, Matt, we've laid a plan out before this training camp, before preseason, but really wanted to get into that week to make final decisions, if you will. No different than what we're doing right now. We have a plan, but want to see where we are. And the idea there, Matt, was down in Jacksonville, we worked those guys out. We had them do a run, so I did not have them do pregame warm-up. This week, we did not have them run prior to the game. We had them do the pregame warm-up and then just stay in the pads.
So as you kind of look at that plan and how it's kind of laid out, I don't know if you want to answer this, but how much have you deviated from that, or are you pretty much on pace exactly how you thought it would lay out?
Yeah, we have not deviated to the plan, and that's just us taking stock of where we are and having discussions in the building. I use this line often, but when the map differs from the terrain, you got to go with the terrain. So we have the map and we're following it, but if something else comes up, we'll pivot.
Thanks, Matt. Scott Petrick, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, I know you said you're not ready to just hand the kicking job to Chase, but what have you seen from him so far? Or when you talk to Mike Prefer, what's he saying about him as far as, if he's ready to be your guy?
Yeah, Scott, he's battling. He's doing a nice job. I think you guys have seen it out at practice. Did a nice job with that field goal into the dog pound. yesterday. So he's doing a nice job and expect him to keep battling.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Mary Kay Cabot has her next question.
During the preseason games and practice, and you see all these weapons that you have on offense, and then some new young guys that are emerging. As you approach the opener here, are you wondering how you're going to spread the ball around and sort of feed all these hungry offensive mouths you're going to have on this team?
Yeah, I think those are the type of things, Mary Kay, we talk about throughout the offseason, how we want to utilize guys. And that's part of the offseason and part of training camp is finding out what guys do, trying them in certain roles, see how they respond to that. So we're taking in all of that as we go. And when we get to Kansas City week, we'll have those discussions. And as you put the plays up and you start moving the chess pieces around the board, we'll get to that point. I think in the meantime, it's really just continuing to evaluate these players, both, as we put this team together, and then also just seeing what their skill sets are really at every position.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Back to Tom Withers.
Thank you, Rob. Kevin, apologies up front. I know you don't like to talk about injuries. What is your concern level, though? Your projected starting defense really hasn't been out there as one unit to this point this summer. What is your concern level about getting them ready as the opener approaches?
Yeah, I think, Tom, we've worked really hard here in the building, on the practice field, in the meeting rooms, to make sure that our guys are on the same page. So I value walkthroughs. I think the guys have been locked in the walkthroughs. Ultimately, would love to get the entire group out there, offense, defense, special teams, and have the full complement of guys. But injuries are a part of it, and we just deal with it accordingly. But the guys are working hard. I will tell you that. And, it was good to get Miles and Jadeveon out there on Friday, and then we'll ramp them up and guys will get healthy as we go here and get more guys in there. So I just think it's a natural evolution of it, Tom, as guys come off the rehab list, if you will.
And along those lines, I know you're going the slow burn here with Odell. Is this the week though where he may join team drills?
Yeah, I think the whole point of this has been to do this thing at the appropriate speed and do it with the consultation of the medical team. So we'll continue to do that. I do think that there will be a point where he's in team drills and those type of things, but we'll make sure he's ready for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Dan Lobby's next.
Hey, Kevin, I know you love getting this question, but have you come up with any sort of plan for what you're going to do Sunday night as far as playing time is concerned?
So we do have a plan, and we've talked about it. I want to continue to see where we are this week before ultimately signing off on that. And I'll talk to the players, and then I will certainly let you guys know.
And then I was also just wondering, so, like yesterday, you made the decision to go for it on 4th and goal from the 7. I'm just wondering what your thinking is in preseason games for those situations. Like, are you trying to find things out? Are you kind of, what are you thinking in those moments in preseason games?
Yeah, on the field goal attempts, I just don't want to kick a field goal that's shorter than an extra point. That's as simple as it is. If it's 4th and 12, would you maybe kick a short field goal? Maybe, but that's the idea. And on some of those, you need to see a punt or you need to see a field goal. That's more so than you need to see the offense run another play. So those are the type of things that we're discussing when we make those decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Back to Scott Petrick.
Kevin, do you expect either Grant Delpit or Anthony Schwartz to return to practice this week?
We'll see on both those guys, Scott, but I think they're both progressing well. They're working very hard in the rehab, so I'm hopeful to see one or both of those guys. I am hopeful.
And then how often or how much time do you spend with Andrew Berry talking about how many guys you want at each position when you have to get down to 53?
Yeah, we talk about it a lot. We spend a lot of time staring at that depth chart, and it's ultimately Andrew's decision, and he has some tough decisions to make. And but he does a great job of asking really good questions of myself, of the coaches. So it's certainly a process, but got so another week here of evaluations before those decisions have to be made.
Does it feel like a decent amount of flexibility though, whether or not it's 3 or 4 tight ends or 3 or 4 running backs? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think Andrew wants to, you want to put together the best 53, and that's his goal. And I think that we're working hard to make sure we do that.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Matt Fontana, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, back to the kicking situation. A lot of people spoke about how great Cody was down the stretch and, kicking at First Energy Stadium. A lot of people say it's something you have to learn. How much stock do you put into that? And will there be any plans to get Chase down to the stadium more now that it seems like it'll be his job?
Yeah, I think those guys have kicked quite a bit down the stadium throughout training camp and will continue to do so. I'm disappointed for Cody, obviously. He's a veteran, came up big for us in some big moments last season. So I don't want that to get lost in this either. It's disappointing for him. And I know his teammates feel badly about that.
And kind of back to playing, do you talk to the players on if they would like to play in the preseason, or basically just how much do you take their opinion into stock when making those decisions?
I mean, I certainly talk to them. I don't necessarily take a straw poll on who wants to play in the game, but their feedback is important. And all we're trying to do is have a plan that is smart for the Cleveland Browns, for the individual player, and that's ultimately what we will do.
Thanks, Matt. We're going to take one more. Tony Grossi.
Okay, Kevin, after looking at the film of the game, can you say anything more about Malik McDowell's performance his first game in 4 years?
Yeah, Tony, I thought he did a really nice job, and I'm glad you brought him up because he hasn't played a game in a long time, and he's been through a lot. And to see him out there making plays, his teammates were excited for him. So he continues to grind, he continues to work at this thing, and I thought he had a nice day.
Do you think he's comfortable with what you're doing on defense? It's, in addition to being back on the football field in 4 years, or is he still trying to shake off a lot of rust?
No, I think he's doing a nice job. I think he worked really hard when we got him in the building in the spring. Obviously, had a couple injuries that set him back, but stayed into it with the walkthrough, stayed into it in the meeting room. So he's a guy that's really, really battling. He's working very, very hard as we get through this training camp.